What if you could learn to avoid the biggest mistakes that musicians make and regret from musicians who have been exactly where you are right now or where you're trying to go? Well, there are 6 things that older musicians say that they deeply regret, which will give you the blueprint of exactly what you need to be doing right now to be successful. And in this video, I'm going to share those things with you. Hey, and welcome to Music Space, where we help working musicians just like you learn how to quickly and easily make a living with your craft. So if you're new here to the channel, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. That way you'll be notified when new videos are uploaded. Now, right before we get into this video, if you're a musician looking to make some serious passive income, I'm advising all musicians like this to start a YouTube channel today. Right now, YouTube is the biggest opportunity for musicians to grow a fan base, to make money, make passive income, and just expand their network. And because of this, I've created the YouTube QuickStart course to help you get up and running and making money on YouTube really quickly and easily. And the best part is it's completely free and you can get instant access to it at the link in the description of this video. So there are some seasoned musicians out there that have been around for a very long time and they've weathered the storm, so to speak, and they've dealt with and handled everything that the music industry have thrown at them. And they've made a lot of mistakes along the way and seen a lot of success. And in that, they have simply learned some of the things that work and just don't work that are universal. But when I speak to them, there are like 6 things that tend to always come up that they deeply regret. And it's crazy because these 6 things sort of transcend time. These are things that I see so many musicians still being vulnerable to today. And if you learn these things, you will be able to avoid the common pitfalls that so many musicians fall into and get stuck in, and you'll gain insight on exactly what you need to be doing to be successful. So the first thing that older musicians say that they deeply regret is not trying. It's crazy because there are a lot of should've, could've, would'ves with older musicians when it comes to this. There's this really deep mentality among a lot of them that's like, man, I could have done this, I should have done this, I would have done this if, and all of those sort of regrets. But for whatever reasons, for whatever the things that happened in their life, they simply didn't try. So they deeply regret like not following their passion, not doing what makes them happy. They really wish that they had taken more risks, and they regret not taking the opportunities that were given or presented to them. And it's really sad in a way because, again, you can see like the fire in their eyes that have just gone out, and you can see that that passion has just gone down, and that they have this thing in the back of their minds. Not that they're just necessarily completely unhappy now, but they have this thing like this splinter in the back of their mind, like a what if I would have done what it is that I love to do? What if I had taken risks and gone with my passions and followed my passions? And that's a deep lesson for us musicians now. We really need to be willing to take chances and go after our passions and go toward the things that we love. And again, just having the courage to do that. Now, another thing that older musicians regret is they regret that they stopped learning. So what happened is a lot of these older musicians got really, really good at their instruments, at their voices, and what they do. And what happened is they had a lot of people around them telling them, oh my God, you're so great. Oh my God, you're so good, which put them in the mindset of like, I've arrived, so there's really nothing else I need to do. I don't need to be learning anything else. But what inevitably happened is the world changed, the world grew, and younger musicians of a new generation start coming up that was just as talented as these older musicians as teenagers and as young adults. Then what happened is, the older musicians started complaining about the way that the younger musicians were doing stuff, kind of like now, but they were complaining that they're doing it the wrong way and they don't have it down and all of that kind of stuff. And the way that they start doing it became the norm. And what happened is that pushed the older musicians out. And because they were so stubborn, they didn't take the time to learn these newer methods of, music and playing and performing and things like that. So they inevitably became outdated. They were simply no longer relevant. And that's a huge lesson for us current musicians. We have to be careful about not continuing to learn. We have to be continuing to learn and continuing to grow. Now, another thing that older musicians deeply regret is caring about other people's opinions. And this is a huge one as well, and it's sort of something that I just spoke to, but what happened is these musicians start caring too much about what other people thought, and they put their thought process and their determination about what they wanted to do and be based on other people's opinions and other people's thoughts of them. So when they wanted to make moves, when they wanted to do something like follow their passions or release a CD, release music, release projects, or whatever the case may be, other people's opinions came in and sort of infected their minds with, this type of stuff. Oh, you aren't good enough, or hey, you should be doing something else type of thing. And then that took them off their path. And I want to be clear about this one too, because this is something that I see that happens around me a lot of days as well. But we also have to be careful about the good stuff that people say that comes from other people's opinions as well. Those things can be just as detrimental or even more detrimental than the bad things. When you got people around you blowing your head up and saying, oh my God, you're this, you're the best thing since sliced bread, and you're the best musician ever, you're the best singer ever, you're the most talented person ever, and all of that kind of stuff, that stuff can blow your head up and put you off your path. So older musicians regret this for a reason, and it's something that us musicians now have to be really, really careful about, listening to what other people are saying around us and letting those things affect us and our decisions and where we want to go. It's not that we're supposed to completely block people out, especially people that are close to us, like our family and our close friends and stuff like that. We value their opinions and stuff like that. But letting a lot of people in and clouding your judgment when it comes to that stuff can be really detrimental, because it can get us off our path and, take us away from where we know we want to go, and actually just away from success. Now, another thing that older musicians really regret is being overly concerned about fame and money. What I get from them when I talk to them about these sorts of things is that they feel like they were self-centered and that everything was about them, and that, fame and money and all of those types of things that come with it should be coming to them. And the biggest part about this that they regret is that when these things didn't happen, when the fame and money and success didn't come, or it didn't come as quickly as they thought it should, they got really mad and upset, and then they start blaming other people and, looking at other reasons and all of these outside external sources as to why it wasn't happening. And they weren't looking at themselves. The part that they were looking at themselves was the self-centered part, and just thinking that they deserve this type of thing without having to work for it, and that the people around them was to blame because they weren't getting it. And so the lesson there for us musicians now is that I think we really need to be focused and more concerned about what we're giving, what we're putting out, and how it's affecting people, and how we're helping people change the world, and how we're putting good stuff out into the world. Because again, that's where I think the happiness comes from. It comes from those sort of things, rather than just the sort of empty fame and stuff and people telling us we're good. That stuff is good, and it's good for a dopamine rush and makes us feel good about ourselves, but it's fleeting, But the larger goal is to focus our intent on what we do with putting just good stuff out into the world, and also just expressing ourselves as artists and musicians. And another thing that older musicians regret, and this is a big one as well, is not taking care of themselves. And this is something that so many of us musicians are really guilty of, right? We don't take care of ourselves like we're supposed to do. And to be fair, it's not just musicians. This is something that happens with, people in other industries as well. But specifically us musicians, we don't take care of ourselves physically, mentally, or things like that, especially when we're really good at what we do. And the case for us musicians today is that it's not only that kind of stuff, it's that we just have so much going on, and we're pressed for time, and there just seems like little time. So we don't focus our energy and time on taking care of our physical bodies and our minds. And the reason that a lot of the older musicians regret not taking care of themselves is because they got put out of the game, so to speak, too early. So the lesson in this one for us is that we need to have at least some focus while we're in this game of trying to be successful as musicians, that we also have a focus on taking care of ourselves, taking care of our bodies, taking care of our minds and things like that. That's what's going to help us keep us on the court and help keep us in the game and help propel us to success. Now, another thing that older musicians regret is not putting out their music. So because of this perfectionist mentality that they had, they didn't put out their own original music, which some of it is really, really good, by the way, because I've heard some of it. And, you know, you could tell, like, man, if this would have been out, this probably could have been a hit. But because to them, like, oh my God, it wasn't ready. Like, I needed to change this one little part in there that, you know, I'm thinking in my mind, nobody's going to notice that. You could have put that out. And then, you know, you compare it to, you listen to a lot of the older songs and you hear a lot of the mistakes in those songs. You're like, man, this song sounds better and it's produced better than that. So it probably could have been a hit. But again, they regret stuff like not putting out their music. They just really sat on their music and didn't do anything with it because of the perfectionist thing, because of fear, because of other people's opinions and all of this kind of stuff, blowing their head up and again, forcing them or getting them off their track to success. So that's a lesson for us musicians now. When we have music and projects and things like that that we want to put out, stop sitting on them. Put that stuff out. Like, put it out into the world, ready or not. It doesn't need to be perfect. There's a saying that says, done is better than perfect. And I personally always found that to be true. We need to learn to get to the place to where our stuff is our best and it's good enough to put out, and we can move on to other projects, because the more stuff that we do, the more opportunities that we have to be successful. Now, speaking of success, there's a lot of things that us musicians need to be doing right now to be successful in the music industry. And if you want more information about that, you definitely want to check out these videos right now.